Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 262. That wasn't too many twos.
No, but you know what it was? There were precisely 0 20s.
You are correct, sir. The podcast where we explore the inanity of numbers. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
Still, with so much less to
I'm so
obligate.
good at saying the username I've been using for decades. How do I do it?
Your alter ego, as it were. But, yeah, we have episode 262 here, and I believe we have an anniversary that we just passed. Don't we, Lotus?
That's right. We have been doing this podcast for a whopping 5 years. Can you believe it?
And we've never missed an episode.
That is correct.
So yeah, you know, I have missed an episode.
Well, we all have. I've missed some.
Yeah, we've all missed a couple, but we've always had something to release every single week.
Every single week.
Yeah, so
even when we go to events like MagFest or whatever, we do a recording while we're there.
Yeah, no. In fact, I would say that's one of the best things that we do, and it's unfortunate that we haven't had you know, a chance to do an in-person one. Well, we did as the pandemic was waning, right?
Yeah, we did well, waxing, I suppose, but like we did the last MagFest we were at. It was just the two of us, but we were still able to record there.
No, didn't we do one at my house like a couple months ago?
Oh yeah, I mean obviously that wasn't MagFest, but we did do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would like to do another group situation, especially considering that I have a better microphone now. At least I hope it's better. Please comment on your opinion. But I think it's actually...
testing, and you hear that high pitched whine like in the movies.
But yeah, I have a lot of fun doing this podcast every single week, and I love interacting with our tight camaraderie. So. Definitely looking forward to another 5 years, Lotus, if you could believe that.
Oh, God.
I only have show notes up for 3 years. I wasn't prepared.
Now what do I do?
But, yeah, I wanted to this time come up with a subject I don't think we've ever really talked about. I think we've talked about movies that have adapted video games, but never really have we talked about anime / manga that have adapted video games before. Well, and this is an interesting subject, I think.
Well, yeah, because usually it's things that were anime, manga, or movies first that were adapted into video games to get a licensed title or whatever. And
sure.
With American stuff too, like the Iron Man video game. But anime and manga that comes from video games, it happens, but it's not as common.
Yeah, I was kind of first introduced to this kind of thing with, you know, the pages of Nintendo Power actually had, at the time, which I didn't realize that you know, this is what it was called, but they had manga in there.
Yeah, like Samus Adventures or Mario Adventures,
exactly.
Which were the Mario stuff was eventually adapted, I should say, into a book of its own that you can now buy at Barnes & Noble. They compiled them all, and Zelda had something like that too.
They actually have 2 of them. I was actually gonna I have them right here. I have the Super Mario Brothers Adventures by Kentaro Takekuma. And they got a mangaka to do the story. The art is by Charlie Nozawa. So,
yeah, the art is great, by the way. It's very it's really charming.
Colorful. Really colorful. This is based off of like Super Mario World era kind of stuff. But the first one that I ever saw was actually The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past one by Shotaro Ishinomori. So this was actually my favorite because I was like waiting for each of our Nintendo Powers to come in the mail so I could you know, finish it.
Yeah. Because like Zelda, like there's an overall idea with it, but you mostly just go dungeon crawling. So it was interesting to see like an actual story with dialogue play out.
Yeah, what was cool was Link actually had a voice in it, and he never had a voice.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
He was an actual character, and they did some interesting things with this. So it wasn't just like a straight up adaptation of beat by beat, because they wanted to do something.
It couldn't be. It's like
different.
I walked into the next room in the dungeon. I solved the puzzle. Like, what are you gonna do?
So what they added another character, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah, Rome.
Yeah, they added Rome. Yeah, which I thought was really interesting.
So Link has someone to talk to, so he's not just silently soloing everything. You know, like with Samus, it makes more sense for her to be just like silent all the time because like there's nothing. She's on an alien world, but like Link talks to people in the games. It's just like if you're gonna do that, then you could give the readers a little something to work with, so he has more of a personality. Samus's whole thing is being like the silent hunter.
Do you know what was cool about Rome?
I either don't know or I don't remember because I did not read the whole story.
So Rome is a bird person.
Sure.
And like he can turn into a bird form, and this was before the Rudo were a thing.
Yeah, way before.
Yeah. Rudo did not come until the Wind Waker stuff. So
yeah, they had the bird people in that one island.
Yeah, and now they're in Breath of the Wild as well. So
yeah,
I just thought it was cool that they had kind of this precursor thing going on, and the art in these two are really, really beautiful, and they're worth it. They're both widely available even still.
Oh yeah, like again, Barnes and Noble, you could just get them.
No, Viz puts them out.
I've definitely seen them at Barnes and Noble though.
Yeah. Viz is the one who publishes them, and I definitely really recommend them because they're very nostalgic for me. I really like the Mario one especially, just because it's not even an adaptation. It's just like fun.
It's just that was gonna say. It's just wacky. It's just goofy.
I really like that one because I think my my Nintendo Power subscription ended before the Mario one, or when it was first starting, so I never got a chance to read that back in the day. So it was pretty fun for me to go back and read that. So
one of the only things I remember from that, because like my friend in middle school had some of the little bits of it, was there was this one new character who was just a grifter who would just try selling you crap you don't need. And one of them was like a translation guide for like Yoshi language, and it had sample pages like, what do you do when you say hello? Yoshi. What do you do when you say goodbye? Yoshi. Like, what about when you want to ask for something? Yoshi. Like, this book's useless. The guy's like already gone. It was great.
Well, I really enjoyed this, and then later on they also had a Super Metroid one, and that one unfortunately has never been collected, and it's really a shame because that one in particular has probably the best art out of the whole bunch, and art
it's old style
good.
too. It's old style too. Samus had like purple hair.
Yeah. It was really excellent, and you could see bits of it if you have the Nintendo Power Super Metroid strategy guide. They have like pictures from it, but they never collected it for whatever reason, like they did with the other two, and I'm not sure why. I guess because Metroid isn't as popular, but I think it should be re-released because like especially with as you see how people were fiending for Dread when that was
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden like they have tons and tons of pre-orders already for this game. So I just thought I mentioned these things that kind of spurned on my my brain, but I'm sure you have some others in your head that you wanted to
absolutely
take a look at.
One thing that this is gonna piss me off. I know nothing about this, but wasn't like Orphan ORPHEN like a game, like something that came?
Yeah, that was a PS2 game, very early PS2
and it got
game.
some kind of anime from it, but that's all I got. One thing I can talk about though that I actually have seen is Corpse Party. Corpse Party got an anime adaptation just based on the first game, or I should say the PSP release, which is basically a remake of the first game because the old one was like Game Maker or something. So the blood-covered release of Corpse Party is canonical now. There's an anime adaptation of it, but the thing is, a lot of what makes Corpse Party shine is like the player looking at things and reading the flavor text, because that's scarier than like the actual scares in the game. The flavor text is what sells the whole thing.
The creepy context in which everything happens.
And even just the descriptive language of like gross things that you see, even though you can't really see it on the pixel sprites, but the anime like can't do that in a way that makes sense, so it leans more into the blood and gore, which I get. But gory is not necessarily scary.
It's what the kids want to see, Lotus.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, well, it's like I don't know what I expected, you know. Although I will say it has an ending that is different from the game, and that actually got me. That was a shock. That ending was amazing because it's like a bad end. Corpse Party is famous for like you want to seek out the game over screens because they're bad ends.
Yeah. And
a lot of them are fucked up. But the movie, like it's OVAs. It's like there's 2 or 3 parts or whatever. It has an ending where like, you know, the conclusion of the first game is like the big attempt to escape the school once and for all. We found a way, but can we do it? It all comes down to like whether I can make this in time or whatever. And let's just say that there are mixed results with that one. And it was handled in a way that like my jaw actually dropped because I figured it would be like it would reflect what happened in the game. Sure. It did not.
Wow.
It got me. I was like, oh shit! It was amazing. It was and not only did it shock me, but it did it with violence that wasn't blood and gore. Like you just figure out what happens and you're like, oh. So that was amazing. So overall, would not particularly recommend except for the last few minutes, which is like, what? Like that was great.
Well, I'm sure you could seek out just that part, right?
If you really yeah, whatever. We probably like YouTubed it or something because I don't know if it was ever officially released in the West. It had fan subs.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, overall, but definitely had interesting spikes, especially that ending. That was something else. Especially considering who got the short end of the stick on that one.
Well, I wanted to talk about this other one that is not necessarily like... it's part of a media franchise, so it's not like an adaptation, I guess, but like...
Sure.
But it fits in what we were talking about. This is an early one because like... when this came out, we were starved for like material from Japan. You know, whatever we got, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh, is this like the 90s or 2000s or something?
Oh yes, it was the 90s.
Okay, I was gonna say because the 90s were like, maybe I like anime, and by like the late 90s we're like, I will take anything you give me.
Yeah. So like whatever we could find on tape at Blockbuster, that kind of thing, with, you know.
Yeah.
So, whatever little anime section, we watched every single thing in that little anime section, man.
Speaking of which, by the way, this is deviating a little bit, but this is back when, like, the people who ran those stores, like, didn't know what anime was.
Yeah.
They're like, because they're like, it's cartoons, whatever. So, like, you might see some, like, hardcore, like, M-rated thing, or, like, outright hentai just on the shelves in front of everybody, because, like... This is the anime section. This is anime, isn't it? And it's like a fucking porn or something. And
you're like, what is this? Yeah, especially in the days of like Sam Goody or whatever.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I never actually watched it, but I saw like a copy of Angel Cop on the shelf. And when I looked up clips from that later, I don't remember if it was a porn or not, but it was like very vulgar. Like if I had watched that at home, if my parents had for some reason decided to get that for me, if they had caught me watching that, they would have lost their fucking minds.
We have My Neighbor Totoro right here, and then Bible Black.
Yeah, right. Like it's a cartoon, whatever. How bad could it be?
But
even though like 1940s Looney Tunes cartoons were still like pretty much for adults.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is my example here is like definitely one of the anime that I got from Blockbuster at the time. It was Final Fantasy: Legend of the Crystals. Have you ever heard of this?
I know there's been Final Fantasy anime, so like
This was the first one.
maybe I've heard of this.
Yeah. So what it is it is the canonical sequel to Final Fantasy V.
Oh yeah, that game that we got. All right, gotcha. Keep going.
And it takes place 200 years after it, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's a sequel, I guess.
I guess because they're looking for the same crystals that were in 5.
Fine,
Yeah.
it's fine.
But I think in the dub at the time I liked it because in the dub the main character was played by the same voice actor as Tenchi from Tenchi Muyo.
Okay, I didn't watch that show, but I know that was like
It was big at the time.
Hugely popular, yeah.
Yeah, it was big at the time. That was during the infancy of like Toonami and all that stuff. So like
It was
all
probably
we had was
probably America's first harem anime too.
yeah. I was gonna say all we had was like Dragon Ball Z, and
Pokemon,
like Sailor Moon, and Cowboy Bebop was right around this time, and Tenchi.
But
And
Cowboy
so-
Bebop wasn't as like I guess if they're both on Toonami, then alright. But I was gonna say
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop wasn't as prolific as Dragon Ball Z or Pokemon.
No, but it was on Toonami at the time, around the same
yeah.
time as this.
like
So
Inuyasha, Rurouni Kenshin, the Big O's, good times.
yeah, Big O was a little bit after we got Cowboy Bebop, if I remember right. But
Yeah, Big O. I think we might have been in high school.
we
or
got
college or
Gundam
something.
Wing right around this time.
Yeah.
Like
Yu Yu Hakusho.
1998, 99. So we got that Sonic the Hedgehog anime around this time too.
Sonic Underground.
No, it was called Sonic the Animation. I think it was what.
Oh, was that the movie?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, the one-off movie. I have seen that.
I
Where
have
the final
that.
boss
I
is
had it when I was a kid.
yeah, the final boss is Metal Sonic.
Yeah, and it had like a weird cat girl as the love interest.
Yeah, the human that they hang around with. So yeah, for anyone who thinks Sonic 06 is weird for that Sonic human love interest, like it's been a thing. Sorry.
But yeah, I just thought this was interesting because it also had like a pirate, tsundere character who threw bombs at people,
Yeah.
cartoonish bombs.
Yeah, where they explode and your face is black like in Looney Tunes.
Yeah, exactly. But I had to mention that because it's just like conjuring up like old memories in my brain, and this was of course before Final Fantasy Spirits Within, which is like,
Saw that in theaters.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters too. Steve Buscemi in that, right?
I don't even know. And there was also Advent Children later, which was more entertaining.
Yeah, Ming-Na Wen, Alec Baldwin, James Woods, Donald Sutherland, Ving Rhames, Steve Buscemi, and Perry Gilpin.
What the hell? Those are people I've actually heard of.
No,
Remember that time James Woods was in Final Fantasy? So I guess he was in Final Fantasy before he was in Kingdom Hearts, which crossed over with Final Fantasy.
Kingdom
'Cause he
Hearts
reprised his
1
role
would have
as
been around the
Hades.
same time as 2001, wouldn't it?
Oof, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
no,
he-
it
yeah,
might
he
have
rep-
been around the same time.
Because he reprised his role as Hades for Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
God, that's weird. How many characters were Disney and Final Fantasy? James Woods.
It's the only work that guy has anymore because he shot himself
He's
in
a
the
piece
foot.
of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. 2002 was Kingdom Hearts, so it's right before it.
That's insane.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just had to mention that because like there was like all kinds of stuff that I was trying to watch around then, like violent, like late 80s OVAs,
Yeah, the
like
ultra violent stuff. Yeah.
Samurai X, was it Ninja Scroll?
Ninja Scroll was a really early one. I saw that like stuck with me. It's not like the best movie ever, but like that really
It was
stuck
cool
with me.
for the time. It was
That
edgy.
opening was intense.
What was another one?
Well, there's a bunch of fighting game stuff, a lot of which I have
yeah.
not seen. There's Samurai Spirits, which is the Japanese name for Samurai Showdown, but I think even in America, the cartoon is called Samurai Spirits. I
There's a
believe,
Fatal
there's a
Fury
virtual...
one too, I think.
There were two Fatal Fury movies, maybe even a third.
Yeah.
There was I think there was a Virtua Fighter thing, which I never saw.
Yeah, that's a weird one to do, right?
Yeah, there's
There's a Panzer Dragoon one too.
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
There's Street Fighter, of course. There's
Yeah,
Street Fighter.
straight up had a nude scene for Chun-Li in it. I remember.
Yeah, and Fatal Fury had a nude scene with Mai, so they lined up. And actually, there was a PS2 release of like some sort of Street Fighter anthology, which came with the movie, but that was censored, of course.
Not in the Xbox version.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Ironic, considering Xbox censored Run Like Hell's name, and PS2 didn't.
And Conquer.
Yeah. But anyway, there was Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, which is very good. It's gorgeous to watch. There was Street Fighter Alpha.
Alpha movies, yeah.
Yeah, there was an Alpha movie, and I think there was another one that might have been called Street Fighter Zero, which in Japan that just is what Street Fighter Alpha was called, but it's still a different movie.
Yeah, I remember those. Those weren't as good.
No, they were not. In fact, they got steadily worse. Like Alpha was okay. Akuma kind of cameoed in it, and then in Zero, they actually like dealt with Akuma. But the Chun-Li Vega fight in Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, is like just a masterwork. Like that is one of the best fights I've seen in like an animated movie in a while.
So here's a cool curiosity. There is a shmup called Game Center. What is it? Game Paradise.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's one made out of made by Jalico that has like all of like the Jalico characters in it. So it's kind of like almost like
so it's got Juggernaut characters in it.
No.
Wow.
But they put a new version of it out on Steam and Switch recently and PS4. So Game Paradise.
And while you're looking that up, by the way, I don't think this counts as. I mean, if you want to split hairs between comic books and manga, but I think Streets of Rage might have had a brief adaptation for comics, possibly.
What was it?
Streets of Rage, possibly.
If it was like in a magazine. It would have had to.
There was like a brief stint with like Bayou Billy in comics as well.
Oh, yeah. So I would have to say that probably that was in Sonic the Comic in Europe.
Oh, as like the B story or something.
Yeah, it was probably in England.
Okay. Although actually, now that you mention it, there's some low hanging fruit for you. Sonic's had a million comics with the Archie stuff.
Oh yeah.
And 100 TV shows too.
No kidding. And now they have IDW. It's IDW puts it out now.
Sure.
But yeah, I was gonna say, Game Tengoku Cruisin' Mix Special is the new version of it.
Okay.
This is also one of the games that like Dispatch Games is famously like not following up on for the pre-order of. But this was a really awesome game, and they ported it to Saturn back in the day, and there is a limited edition version that comes with a VHS of the OVA.
Wow.
That goes along with it. And I think the new version of it actually has the OVA in the game.
That's
if
pretty
I'm
great.
not mistaken. So even if it's not, you can find it on YouTube, and the YouTube version has subtitles in English. So
okay.
you can find it at least now. And this was during the era where OVAs were like really lavish, so the animation's just nuts.
Well, they always were, because they were like almost movie quality versions of things you like.
Yeah, and you
like
buy them for like $100 back in the day.
I know, but like an episode is usually 25 minutes, but an OVA might be like 40-50 minutes. You're like, exactly. Ooh. So it's not full on movie length, but you're like, oh, look at this.
But they sometimes like a whole series would be like 4 OVAs. You'd have to like buy 4 videos to get the whole story.
Well, even JoJo, like not the new anime, but the the mid 2000s one, like those were technically OVAs. Like all those episodes were like 45 minutes long, and you had to buy. I mean, we bought a collection, but like normally you would have had to buy each DVD separately, and one of the DVDs had 3 episodes on it, and the other 5 DVDs had 2 episodes each on them. Like that, like dude, come on.
Fooly Cooley was like that too. Fooly Cooley was OVAs, and that was super expensive back in the day because
I think it was even worse in Japan. I think it might have been 1 episode per.
Yeah,
like it's brutal.
And it was six episodes, right? So
yeah, like that's cold. Oh, by the way, one thing I should mention. This is a really weird thing to bring up, and again, this is an American show, but Cadillacs and Dinosaurs had a series.
Oh wow!
Can you believe that? There was a cartoon of that.
Yeah. Wow. Let me try to think. I mean, there was also like some early Dragon Quest like 80s stuff. Most of it is just
actually there's a Dragon Quest anime going on right now, which is a remake of the one from the 80s.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
like Dino Boken. I gotta look up the name of it. Like Dragon Quest
Adventure is no.
Yeah, the Adventure
Boken.
of Dai.
No Boken.
I forgot what it's called.
Dino Boken.
Dino Boken. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Dino Daiboken.
Okay.
There you go.
Big Adventure.
Yeah, so there's a 2020 version which is ongoing, and it's a remake of the 80s version.
Daiboken's Big Adventure, I think.
Yeah, so it's like I don't think it follows a particular Dragon Quest games plot, but it was a manga and then it got adapted into an anime. Yeah, I believe it's Akira Toriyama.
I think that one is like a kid gets sucked into his video game kind of thing.
Oh, is that what it is?
Like a Captain N kind of situation. Yeah.
Okay.
There was Final Fantasy Unlimited as well.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of. When you first mentioned that Final Fantasy thing, I was like, I don't know. I was thinking of Unlimited.
Yeah. People didn't like Final Fantasy Unlimited.
No, I heard it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Didn't Chrono Trigger get something? Like a little OVA or something?
The only thing I can think of is like the introduction that they made for the PS1 versions of the game.
Oh, that kind of... Maybe that's what it was then? Alright.
Yeah, but that was very lavish. Anything that they did was like super lavish.
Sure.
But yeah, there's just like all kinds of craziness. There's a Megami Tensei anime as well that I think is just straight up on YouTube.
Yeah, and Persona 4 had an anime as well.
Yeah, and I was also going to mention that there's been a recent trend, and it's a pretty good trend at that, of visual novels getting their own animes.
Yeah, I was going to mention Danganronpa, and Phoenix Wright got a live-action movie.
Yeah, well, isn't it a Takeshi Miike?
Yeah, speaking of which, Yakuza also, like a Dragon, the first game got a live-action Takashi Miike adaptation.
Yeah, which I have a fondness for. I know it's not perfect, but I kind of like it.
I honestly think it's generally mediocre, but it has some outstanding moments. Like anything with Majima in it.
Yeah. The guy,
that actor
the guy
steals that movie.
Majima is like acting to the nines.
It's great because he's like wacky Majima. But like
it's kind of before there was wacky Majima.
That's the thing. It was Yakuza 1 Majima is like he has some moments where he kind of comes off as comical, but then he turns terrifying. But in Yakuza 2, he's just goofy.
Yeah.
But Yakuza 1, the first time you meet him, like you're in like one of the tutorial fights, like the first fight after the tutorial, where you shoulder check some punk, and he's like, "What? You want to apologize?" And you're like, no, not really. And he starts trying to fight you, and you kick his ass because, like, do you know who I am? And then Majima shows up, and he's like, do you know who he is? And he, like, beats the shit out of the mook in front of you, and he's ready to stab him with, like, one of those long umbrellas, and you have to stop him from killing the guy who picked a fight with you. And he's like... But I was doing it because he was disrespecting you, and you're like, dude, it's fine. I think he learned his lesson. Jesus Christ!
Got the shit beat out of him by 2 people and almost got killed.
Yeah, and both of them are legends in their fields, by the way.
Yeah.
Like Kiryu, you never want to fight, and Majima is just a crazy guy, so you never want to piss him off, and you never want to fight him.
Yes, just stay away.
And he's voiced by Mark Hamill in that game. Just want to point that one out.
Kiryu.
So if you want to hear Mark Hamill say, "You're gonna get fucked up," like this is your chance.
But I was gonna mention there's all kinds of like crazy OVAs like based off of like video games at the time. So there's like a Life Force, like like Gradius. There's like a Life Force Salamander anime apparently. That's
what?
Yeah, go to Hardcore
really
Gaming
bizarre.
101. They talk about it.
You know what they gotta make an anime of, or some kind of adaptation? They should do level 1 of Abadox. I want to see that. What a
I would
nightmare.
watch that actually. um, yeah, this is during the era like I watched Vampire Hunter D. Remember that before there was anything like Castlevania anime? There was like
That is a gorgeous looking. I don't even remember if it was any good, but the art is
it was
untouchable.
unparalleled. Like you couldn't see anything like it, so like it didn't
You
matter whether
still
it was
don't see
good.
anything like it.
Yeah,
Although I mean, this came afterward, but there is a Vampire Hunter D video game.
yeah.
Although actually low hanging
PlayStation
fruit.
1.
Yes, but actually really low hanging fruit. I can't believe we didn't mention this one, but the very popular Castlevania anime.
Yeah,
There you go.
I was gonna mention that I wanted I watched the Danganronpa anime because it's been a long time since I played the first game, so I just kind of wanted to watch the anime, and it does
Yeah,
a
I
pretty
mean,
decent job at retelling
yeah, but
everything.
it's gonna have to be abridged because you're not gonna do the social link stuff.
Of course.
So it's kind of like just get through the plot. So you're missing flavor, but it'll get the job done.
I mean, it's kind of quite a few visual novels have that kind of treatment now. I mean, you have the famous one is Steins Gate.
Yeah, that is a fantastic anime. By the way, I have seen that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. So thank you for mentioning that. But yeah, that is a very good adaptation.
And then there's Clanad that recently got an anime, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, there are quite a few of the big ones. I mean, Danganronpa is kind of a cross media franchise at this point. So like,
well, yeah, the Danganronpa 3 is an anime, but Danganronpa 1 also had an anime adaptation.
Yeah, exactly. Is it by the same people?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of others that I've watched or read, but I mean,
yeah, I'm trying to think even of Western stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I seek out
like
some
Game
of
of
that
Thrones got a video game. Oh well, no, that's the other way around. Sorry.
But I think we did pretty good for today. I think we can move.
Actually, no. You know what? Excuse me.
Oh.
There is the novel, Aiko.
Oh,
there's a novel. I think it was done by like a children's author in Japan, but there's like it takes some liberties, like because it would have to because that whole game is puzzle solving. But there's a straight up book, like I have it.
Huh. Weird.
The ending's different from the game, so if you want to have it both ways, see multiple endings, you could do that.
Wow.
Oh, and you know what? This is a silly one to bring up. And I don't even know if it counts because I think it was a simultaneous release. But Balan Wonderworld.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Because it has a novel.
How about all the Resident Evil animes and CG?
Yeah, there's 100. That's a good point. There's a lot of those. There's a lot of them, and they vary from mediocre to bad to.
None of them have ever been really
mediocre
good.
And funny.
Yeah, none of them have actually been genuinely good. I don't think.
They've been acceptable at best. Have you seen Vendetta though?
That's the one with the grenades and the dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen that scene.
Funny. There's a lot of
you
scenes
guys bought
that
for me for my birthday, I think.
Yes.
2 years ago.
There's a lot of scenes in that movie that are technically cool to watch. Like it is cool, but it's so dumb. It's just funny. There's one part that really kills me. They don't really do it anymore in movies because I guess it's become a cliche. But when someone dies and the hero finds them, it's like, no, that whole thing.
Peepo,
the most emotionally impactful one right there. But no, the one that like Vendetta slayed me with this because some little girl died in like a zombie house or something, and Chris is holding her and he's like, no, but like just as he says it, there's like a huge explosion behind him and it just cracked me up. I know that's not supposed to be funny, but like it's like a comical exaggeration of the no moment, which is so already weird. Cliche.
Yeah.
That movie has a lot of unintentionally funny parts. There's like a clearly infected girl staggering up to some like military guy. Like, are you okay? Like, no, they're not, you idiots. In a universe where you are aware that zombies exist, you don't see someone like, oh, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Like
I love.
I've seen that they made that joke about Silent Hill, which by the way has had movie adaptations. But
I
they made
love
that
the
joke.
plausible deniability of like, no, you're in a fucked up world. Of course, they're not okay.
Well,
Like,
I saw like a joke meme about this for Silent Hill 4 when Cynthia is dying, and she is bloody everywhere and is obviously gonna die in like 10 seconds. And Henry's like, well, "Are you okay?" Like, dude, like even if
Read
she's
the
gonna
room.
live, she's clearly not okay.
read the fucking room, man.
Like, that is one of the most brilliant Silent Hill premises I think in the series. It's just the game is like, But Silent Hill, yeah, it's not an anime or manga, but it's had 2 movie adaptations.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
there you go. And it's had books, actually, and I think the books were Japan. And it's had comic books, which I think were Western.
They should have a Silent Hill like the beginnings with little Pyramid Head Coon as a
I mean,
child.
close enough. They have Origins with the Butcher, which is not Pyramid Head but looks like him. So we're done. We have it. We did it.
Pyramid Head Coon.
Yeah, if you want Pyramid Head Coon, then play Bomberman R.
You get to see that like fleshy thing coming out of the bottom of his
Yeah,
pyramid.
even in the silly cartoon thing.
Yeah.
That was one thing that cracked me up about Bomberman R, by the way, is the special characters, like the Konami characters, or I guess the platform unique characters like Ratchet or Master Chief. They have unique abilities. Like the Gradius can move super fast for a limited time. Pyramid Head surrounds himself with purple mists and moves extremely slowly. So I'm like, what is this? But if you bump into someone, they just die. It's like, oh, that's terrifying. So if you're running around and just activate that ability, you could just kill somebody. It's the scariest thing.
Nice. All right. Well, we should move on to fan stuff here, Lotus.
Yeah, I think there might have been comics or something for Dark Souls or Bloodborne or whatever, but I'm not 100%.
I'm sure we could come up with something on a later show.
Yeah, almost certainly.
When we have an idea, another idea.
Yeah, why not? But alright. So we have, the Ratchet and Clank movie. It was a tie-in, in fact, with the reboot. There you go. Did it. CG movies. There's endless. So anyway, yeah, for comments, we have a couple. Living Corpse talking about the Death Stranding director's cut, or director plus. Great to see Death Stranding have a maser gun. Masers don't get enough love and are lesser known. They're like lasers, but amplified microwaves instead of amplified light. In fact, I think most energy weapons are lesser known if they aren't a laser. People just see something like a plasma gun and assume laser. People see the word maser for maser tanks in Godzilla films and think it's a mistranslation or typo and should be laser. No, masers were invented first, then lasers. At first, lasers proved more useful, but with current tech, masers are making a comeback, not just as anti-missile defense weapons, but also as a better means of satellites to detect and discover new things in space. TLDR, lasers are energy weapons, but not all energy weapons are lasers.
Wow.
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting, and I bet it makes a killer bag of popcorn.
I've heard of masers, I just never knew what they were. It's just like it's a word I
never
will
heard
see
of
very
masers.
rarely.
That's really
I've
cool.
seen the word a couple times, but like I never looked up what it was, and it's like I've seen it like a couple times in my life. Like maser, it sounded like a sci-fi weapon. Like I'll use my maser gun. You don't even know what this is, so I never knew what that was.
Kojima would be like, okay, what's a current tech that like not everybody knows yet?
Yeah, what esoteric movie trivia do I want to talk about in my video game?
Yeah, exactly.
Dracologist says, because we had briefly mentioned like who's gonna be in our Nickelodeon Brawler game, and I jokingly suggested one of the kids from Are You Afraid of the Dark, because that would just be funny. And Dracologist is like, Are you afraid of the dark, kid? You mean Solo Wing Pixie from Ace Combat? I will have to take your word, because
I don't know that one.
I barely watched Are You Afraid of the Dark, and the only Ace Combat experience I have doesn't count. It was a plane you could unlock in Drakengard 1, like as a joke.
So there were 2 episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark that I've seen. I
might have seen one.
I saw one where a gremlin was inhabiting an old camera, and bad luck would befall anything that was like if you took the picture of anything.
Sure.
It would either break or whatever. And it got into the internet, at the end of it. So
Oh, that's bad.
And this was early '90s internet too. So yeah.
They did that in Fear Effect, kind of, where like someone had an ability. It was not an internet thing, but like someone had an ability that she didn't even want, which was like she could spread like a curse or something if she made eye contact with someone.
Oh,
And
wow.
if you get one of the bad endings, then she just embraces it and goes like, "Look at me." So like number one, it's implied she's gonna spread around, but number two, I don't even know if this was supposed to be taken this way, but she's looking directly like at the camera, like, at me.
Wow.
It's like, oh no.
There's another episode that I saw where a kid is stuck inside the mall at night, and it becomes inhabited with zombies. And then he finds out that he's actually in a gigantic pinball table.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a clip, by the way. This was interesting because it's clearly a low budget affair and they got away with what little they had, but at the same time, if this happened in real life, this would be like piss your pants scary. But there was like a kid had some creepy clown ghost or whatever who wanted him dead or something, but the kid goes into his bedroom and there's like a big balloon with his name on it, and it inflates until it pops with a bunch of glitter, and inside the balloon, like you know like a piñata, when you break it open there's something inside the balloon was, I think, like his name or like a picture of his face with like the cancel sign over it. Like I would be out of there so fast. It's like it's such an easy thing to do for TV. It's so simple, but like that is horrifying. It's like the worst.
So, that looks like that's the end of our fan.
Yeah, those
input.
are the comments. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So, we of course don't have a question from anyone this week. I'm very disappointed in you guys. Jeez.
Whoa, jeez, Vice, calm down.
I don't
Lay
know my
off
own
the
strength. I'm
listeners,
sorry.
Jesus.
I'm sorry. But I came up with a question that I kind of want to hear Lotus's perspective on this.
Okay.
So I think it's kind of it's more than difficult to say, what is the best video game of all time, because
Yeah.
there are disparate genres, right? So like comparing things against each other is like, how do I compare Tetris versus like Super Metroid, for instance,
Yeah, like what are you in the mood to play right now?
But what would you say is the greatest video game franchise of all time?
So what do you mean, like series?
Yeah, this is a little series of all time.
Oh, by the way, before I answer this real quick,
Sure.
I just remembered. Dead Space had 2 animated adaptations. Hey.
Oh yeah.
You can see them on TV back in the day.
Yeah, no, you could get them on DVD. I remember that.
Yep, I saw one of them. But anyway, okay, so best franchise of all time.
Yeah, because I think this one you can pinpoint, and it's from a high perspective. So this is a little bit more than just saying, hey, this is the best game, or at least you could give me candidates.
Yeah, like I mean, this is still going to be tough because I can talk about what I have a personal familiarity with, like the Yakuza series or something. But there's going to be stuff like Dragon Quest or like various shooters that have been going on for decades that I've never touched that
Of course.
other people would say like, well, it's clearly this. So I don't have the overall perspective on every video game ever made. I know Dragon Quest is one of the best series ever. I've never touched it. So like no comment. But like of the stuff I have played, I have very much enjoyed the Yakuza series, and I like the way it slowly evolves as time goes by. And we've even changed perspectives now to give the series an excuse to switch genres, just about. That's very entertaining.
Sure.
I have very much enjoyed, as far as beat-em-ups are concerned, Streets of Rage in particular. I know Final Fight is also very cohesive, but I didn't really play those.
Sure.
Like I dabbled in them, so I'm more familiar with Streets of Rage.
Also, Streets of Rage doesn't really have a bad game at all, and Final Fight has a couple bad games.
Yeah, like the closest Streets of Rage has is 3, but Bare Knuckle 3 is what it was supposed to be, and that's a good game.
Yeah. Whereas Final Fight has the Saturn game, and it also has the like
Streetwise.
it also Streetwise, which a lot of people don't like. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, for fighting games, there's a million out there, and I know a lot
You,
of people
you
would.
kind of have to say Street Fighter. Uh,
Yeah, but like that's the thing. I
have
didn't
to.
really play much Street Fighter, and like I'm aware it's good, but like is
Yeah,
it the
but its
best?
influence is like it is always the main event.
Well, yeah, it's the most
Ever since the
influential,
second
but
game came
like
out.
as far as like what's the best series, like I don't know. Like I could talk about what I have experience with. I'm sure Street Fighter is good. It's been popular for decades. But for me, like I've just enjoyed Soul Calibur, even though a
Okay.
few of the games have been mediocre. But like that's the only fighting game series I really actively pursue. Like that, and I guess Mortal Kombat for the story, which I know is not what you're supposed to do. But ever since the PS3, they've really been leaning into story. It's a big
Yeah.
excuse now.
It's less about impressing the tournament crowd and more impressing the people at home, which is
Yeah,
actually
and
worked for them.
yeah, that's the thing. I was gonna say I like the way Soul Calibur plays more, but Mortal Kombat story is highly engaging. I mean, probably a lot of people would say Guilty Gear for the design and the music because that's one of the most gorgeous fighting games I've ever seen. Like with the new Strive and stuff.
Oh, sure.
I just haven't played them. But Guilty Gear's way up there. For storytelling, that's damn tough because there's a lot of really good ones. Silent Hill 2 has a brilliant way of conveying its story to you. Eternal Darkness has fourth wall breaking, creepy scares for you. Its story is okay. It's clever, but the fourth wall breaking mechanics are like they really get you. The sanity effects hold up mostly to this day. Nier and Nier Automata have incredibly engaging and emotional stories with brilliant soundtracks to complement them.
Sure.
Those are like a fantastic duology. They technically branch off of Drakengard, but they're a duology.
Barely.
Yeah, it's like incidentally. Even the Final Fantasy 14 Nier crossover, I've seen some of that, and that like, man, that almost makes me want to play an MMO, which does not happen. Like that's like, man, what a payoff!
Yeah.
For when you see that crossover. Oh my god, that man, what a payoff! For RPG stuff, I mean I have the most experience probably with Final Fantasy, and I actually like Mystic Quest quite a bit. Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest are just king, both of them. I have more experience with Final Fantasy, although I have been getting into the Suikoden games, and 1 and 2 are brilliant. I hear 3 and 4 are like, yeah, okay, but 1 and 2 are amazing, and I hear 5 comes back in a big way too. For horror titles, like again, Resident Evil, probably king. They have a bunch of
Sure.
misses, but they experiment so often that enough of them are hits. Silent Hill has its really strong hitters, and again, it has like about half of its games at this point are like made by other developers, but also really solid in that regard. Fatal
Sure.
Frame has been pretty consistently good. 5 had a story that got incredibly stupid, but thematically, all 5 games have been great. I haven't tried Spirit Camera yet, though. But, like, I don't know if, like, again, apples and oranges, I don't know if I could say what the best franchise is. I could maybe just give you my favorite, like,
Yeah.
of a particular category, which is what I've kind of been trying to do. So there's a bunch of stuff to work with, but, like, I'm not going to have a number one.
Yeah. Well, I kind of brought this up because I was playing Skyward Sword today, and I was like, I don't think anything beats out Zelda, for me personally.
I like Zelda, but, like, similarly to Mario, like, I respect it, but I'm not as avid. Well, Mario I was never really avid about, except for maybe, like, the NES stuff. But Zelda, I'm not as avidly into it as I used to be. Like, the last one I played was Twilight Princess, and I balked at Skyward Sword, although I probably would like the new controls,
Sure.
so I might lean into that. And I also balked at Breath of the Wild because of the destructible weapons and the open world with like expanses of nothing before you find something. So I'm like, I don't know. So like
It's
I
a lot
haven't
better
touched the new stuff.
than your fear of it. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume so. People love the game, but like I still have yet to try it. But like the Zelda games, I like them and I appreciate their commitments to like the recurring themes like the Souls games do. Remember this? We're doing it again. Like Zelda's been really good about doing that, and I appreciate the endless. It's like a tale of souls and swords eternally retold. So I respect that.
Well, I was just thinking to myself, I was just like, fewer game series kind of like reinvent like the like the the way that they go about things and the
Well,
way.
yeah. Look at Zelda 1 and look at Breath of the Wild. It's like, are you sure these are from the same franchise? Like
Yeah,
they've really
that's what I was
changed.
gonna say is like Zelda has its experimental games in between, but the tentpole games tend to be so significant that they influence the entire industry.
Yeah, and even Zelda 2, which was considered the black sheep, it's still one of the more, like, in terms of newer games, it's still highly influential. Even if people didn't like Zelda 2 itself, it's influenced a lot of future titles.
I mean, Zelda 1 is like it's probably the genesis of that type of game, the swords and sorcery action game, other than
the
other
heavy
than
push
adventure.
on and the heavy push on exploration as well.
Yeah, the only other game that you could point to before it is Atari's Adventure, but I mean, like this is that I consider that the example, right? Because
Yeah, that Atari Adventure walked so Zelda could run.
exactly, Zelda's like the real beginning of it, and it spawned imitators from there, and
Because yeah, Adventure had the idea, but Zelda was just like, go places, see what it is.
yeah, and then
there's
and
a
then
whole lot of experimentation.
we had games like Ease and all that other stuff after that, and so I really I think and then you have a game like Link to the Past, which is still considered like one of the best games of all time.
That is a brilliant, brilliant game.
It is so good and so tight that they really just knew what the hell they were doing when they came out with that game.
That's just it. That's just it. It's tight. Like everyone says, Ocarina of Time, like for years and years, is the best game ever. But like, it's not as tight.
And
Link to
it
the
didn't
Past,
age as well.
No, it didn't. Like,
Yeah.
it's a brilliant game, but Link to the Past, you could play it right now and feel the same way that you would have if it were a brand new game. You're like, oh, look at this. Like, I can get to where I need to go. I just go. I do the thing. Whereas Ocarina of Time is a lot of waiting and a lot of slow pace. And to be fair, that was to make you feel how big the game was. But if you just want to get somewhere, it's like, all right.
Well, they knew what the hell they were doing in that early Super Nintendo era. They made three of the best games of all time. Like it seems like almost effortlessly. They made like A Link to the Past. They made Super Mario World and
Super Metroid.
and Super Metroid all at the same time, which is ridiculous.
And all three of those
in
were
retrospect.
all three of those were like, not, well, kind of genre defining, but certainly like
Absolutely
influential for the rest of their like iterations and other games that would copy them as well.
All three of those games are still being looked at as like the ultimate examples of what they came to represent.
Yeah, none of them was original because they all had previous iterations, but all of them were such evolutions of their predecessors that like it still works today.
Yeah. You have Link's Awakening, which how did they get a game to work so goddamn well on a Game Boy like that?
Yeah, on an OG Game Boy.
Running off of like basically a calculator chip. Like it was an old chip even for the time when it came out. So like it is a black and white system that had good sound. Admittedly, it had good sound for its day. But like the graphics were so minimal, but they got so much out of it. And I don't think there's it has to be the greatest Game Boy game of all time. I can't think of a game that other than maybe Donkey Kong 93.
Donkey Kong Land.
No, the one that's called like just Donkey Kong.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I can't think of a game that, like Super Mario Land 2 is
actually yes. The Super Mario Land games are crazy. Although you know what I should mention, I never heard of this game until like last week. But have you ever heard of Cosmo Tank?
I don't know that one.
That game is shockingly innovative for a Game Boy title. It's like weirdly smooth. It goes into first person exploration segments. Like that game was way ahead of its time.
Have you ever seen X?
I don't think so.
So X was made by Argonaut before they made Star Fox.
Okay.
It straight up is polygonal on the OG Game Boy.
Jeez.
And it's like a first person, like almost like Battlezone, like Atari's Battlezone,
Okay.
kind of game.
Because like Cosmo Tank is like overhead exploration with things shooting at you, but when you go into a dungeon, it's like reverse. Or no, it's not reverse, but it makes me think of Blaster Master. You ride around in an overworld in an overhead view, and then when you go exploring, it goes into first person, and you shoot in the first person. And when you go from one planet to another, because you have to travel across like 5 planets, it turns into like a shooter, like on the Game Boy. Like this shit's bananas.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just think that you have to give it to Zelda in some regards. There's no question that it's like how influential it is. I mean, you also have Ocarina of Time, also, that we mentioned, which changed the way like 3D adventuring went at the time.
Well, especially considering how awkward a lot of transitions into 3D were. Like, what if I make my game into 3D now that we're capable of 3D? And a lot of it ended up being like uncomfortable, like Castlevania 64. Yeah. It's like a lot of
Zelda
games
Mario
they waited just killed
during that era. They totally did not make even an entry in certain franchises. I mean, like Ninja Gaiden, for instance, the only thing you had Ninja Gaiden related was Dead or Alive, the original.
Where Ryu has a cameo. You had to wait until the Xbox for Ninja Gaiden to go 3D.
Yeah, Metroid didn't show up until the GameCube.
No.
There were...
Oh, one thing I should say, though, is weirdly, Goemon had a pretty decent transition to 3D.
He did. A couple good games on the N64, actually.
I never played the other one, but the Mystical Ninja starring Goemon is not only pretty decent 3D game, it's legitimately laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
It has a laugh track, which just completely blindsided
me. I mean, then you have like Wind Waker, which is like pioneering in terms of animation and like combat.
Where you actually had properly emotive characters. You got a taste of it in Ocarina of Time, but you could see it more in Wind Waker.
Even Majora's Mask, like the structure of like the Groundhog Day like setting,
that was innovative. Although part of that was because of intense time constraints. I think they had like a year to make that game. That's why there's so many assets. From
originally going to be a DD game, I think.
Okay.
A disc drive game.
Yeah. And they also created the Moon, which is one of the scariest video game characters in history.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah,
that is the angriest Moon I've ever seen.
Angriest damn
Moon I've ever seen. God damn. Like, look up in the sky and see that. Like, there's no way this is real.
Yeah, and then you have just Breath of the Wild, which like there's plenty of other games, but like when they got to Breath of the Wild, they really hit the nail on the head again. I could say Link Between Worlds also. That one is strangely nobody talks about that anymore.
Well, that's because it's a 3DS exclusive.
Yeah, but it is phenomenal.
I've wanted to play it for a long time because it's Link to the Past 2. Like that's what I want. That is precisely what I want.
And it is so much just better than even calling it that. Because it does.
Well, the idea of like fucked up Hyrule called Lorule, it's like that's awesome.
Well, not only do they do that, they introduce some new characters which haven't been mentioned again. Even in another incarnation. This was the first game where they said, "Hey, go do whatever the hell you want in whatever order you feel like."
Well, even OG Zelda touched that a little bit.
Yeah, but like it's not recommended, was like right?
There is like an intended order, but you kind of
they tell you what level you're at and all that kind of stuff, and really you shouldn't be there. Like you shouldn't be in
Link to the Past,
level
like
7.
Well, in Link to the Past, they number the pendants, or not the pendants, the crystals.
Sure.
But with few exceptions, I think you could tackle the dungeons in about any order.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I just um, when they hit Breath of the Wild, though, it was just like, man, this is what Zelda, like, we always wished it was.
Well,
Like,
yeah, it's old Nintendo Zelda. There's a world, you don't know anything, go look around.
yeah, and it's so goddamn charming too. That's really what it is. The characters in that game,
Yeah,
also,
the aesthetic is gorgeous.
the way that they characterize Zelda is not something I ever expected. Because Zelda has always been kind of either they made her,
Well, she's
with
been
one
the damsel.
exception.
She wasn't a real character until like Skyward Sword.
Well, Wind Waker she was.
Oh, you're right.
And Ocarina of Time.
Although
Ocarina of Time, she was
Ocarina of
Sheik.
Time, not Ocarina of Time. Oh, Sheik. Okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
she was a real character.
But even regarding that though, like when you see her as Zelda, there's barely anything to work with in Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker. Tetra and Sheik, yes.
I was going to say
definitely.
they gave her tsundere kind of characterization when she became Tetra,
Yeah.
but they really did an interesting. Skyward Sword was more like a cutesy damsel, and I that kind of character is fine, but it's also very you know it's almost kind of stereotypical. It's like a cute anime girl almost.
Yeah.
But what they did with her in Breath of the Wild was shocking. They made her really vulnerable, which like like depressed. Basically they made her into a character that like took the guilt of what happened before that game and all on her own shoulders, um and really just made it terrible for her. And you never really saw that kind of personality in her. And it was really they did a lot with the voice acting, and they never really did the voice acting thing.
Yeah, I was actually going to
Breath of
mention this. I was actually going to mention this, and I swear I am not joking here, but like the best Zelda characterization we have had with voice acting was from Zelda Wand of Gamelon. Like up until Skyward Sword, that was honest to God the best Zelda. Like the character Zelda, not the game Zelda.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, Malon was more of a character than she was in Link's Awakening, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Zelda herself, we've had nothing to work with for decades. Like, the CDI was it, which is incredible.
Yeah, but at Skyward Sword, she was a character. She was a real character.
Yes, it took a long time, but we finally got it.
Twilight Princess. It's really the show
She's
is
not even
stolen
like in the
by
game.
Midna.
She's in there for like 5 minutes.
Midna is really the main character.
Yeah, Midna is Zelda, and Zelda is Puppet.
She's barely there. Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny calling it Twilight. Like they named the game after her, and she's barely in it. Which is
What,
hilarious.
Twilight Princess?
Twilight Princess, yeah, exactly.
Twilight Princess is Midna. She's the Twilight character. She's the Darkness character.
Oh, okay. I was thinking
Zelda's in the Zelda's regular.
prison.
Hi, Twilight Princess. I'm regular princess.
Oh, okay.
Twilight Princess is clearly Midna. She's a darkness entity.
I never thought of it that way. Okay, all right.
And she's a princess. Yeah.
All right. I concede. Don't hurt me.
Honestly, I don't even know why Zelda's in the game, other than how are you going to have a game called Legend of Zelda without Zelda in it? I know there's Link's Awakening, but yeah.
I'm waiting for. I know they do this in the Hyrule Warriors games, but like I'm waiting for her to be the main character in one of these games.
Yeah, again, CDI. Like, can you believe this?
Twice, too. two CDI games where
I mean, on one hand, you're right, but on the other hand, no, let's just say once.
But what I'm thinking is, I almost think that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be her. Honestly,
hopefully, because like, remember when Breath of the Wild 1 came out and people weren't sure, because like the Link was wearing blue,
Yeah.
and they're like, is that not Link because he's wearing blue? And he had the super long hair. They're like, are we gonna finally see a female Link for the first time ever? And then it ended up being like typical fare as
Yeah.
far as characterization was concerned. So if they do switch it over to Zelda, that would be, I doubt she'll be the playable character, but still, that would be very interesting.
I think it would be a cool thing to do, because I think they said that they were going to mainly be basing the new game off of the same map, but they're going to do a lot of different things with it, which makes sense.
I appreciate that. Like, I mean, on one hand, you could easily say, "Oh, they're reusing," but on the other hand,
Not
I
really.
like seeing what affects the previous place you were in.
Yeah, they're doing a lot more with it. They said that a ton of the game is going to take place in the sky, and none that had not really ever been explored in the original version of Breath of the Wild. So like you can't really fly in that game. You can, but like hacky kind of ways.
It's Skyward Sword. That's all you got.
Yeah. So I think that it would be really neat if they took that character, and since she was so heroic in the original game, and you know, she had such a good character redemption arc. I think it would be really neat to give her the spotlight in the next game, but we'll see what they come up with. I'm probably just, you know, being too hopeful that they'll actually do something like that, but
I know, like we don't want to change too much because people might get mad, but then we end up being samey again.
I don't think anybody's going to be mad. I mean, it's. Then again, this is the internet, so who the hell knows?
Somebody will be, but like, yeah, like I would love for them to like give Zelda a chance in any of these like 20 plus Zelda games.
You might as well do it when like it's. You can do one of the experimental ones, just kind of like Majora's Mask. You know, that was an experimental one. Like, do it after the big tentpole one that sells your systems. You know, like do it the second one on your system, not the first one. You know.
Yeah, like, you know, what'd be funny, by the way, is you know how some companies like Capcom love paying fan service, including to like weird little quirks.
Yeah, like the Ninja Star thing, like that Capcom had in its early arcade games, showing up every once in a while.
Yeah, like one of my favorite things was in Street Fighter V, the story mode, where this is like an American specific thing. I don't even know if this was in the Japanese dub, but like when a couple of Bison's higher ups were disagreeing with each other, it was like Fong and like Balrog and Vega or something. Yeah. But Bison's watching this, like, my lieutenants fighting against each other. This is deliciously entertaining. I was like, no way. Because that's from the crappy 90s cartoon, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, that also exists.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Adaptation. But
Darkstalkers movie show, too.
Movie and show. Well, OVA and show. And apparently they're both bad, even the Japanese one.
Yeah, but apparently the American one's, like, slightly better.
That can't be. Yeah. I've seen the American one. That cannot be true. Get the
apparently
fuck out.
The anime's like, that bad.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
I heard.
The American show was a worse version of the Street Fighter show.
I know.
Oh, by the way, Mortal Kombat had a cartoon and movies.
Yep.
And new movie. But anyway, regarding the fan service, it'd be funny is if at the end of, I guess it's not happening at the end of Breath of the Wild 1 because that game already exists, but at the end of Breath of the Wild 2, where Link goes, like, "What? I saved you. That's gotta be good for a kiss, right?" And Zelda goes, "Ha!" And then Link goes, "I won!" And just smash cuts the credits. That's precisely what we need in this super serious game.
Oh, man.
Once you finish scrubbing all the floors in Hyrule, then we could talk about mercy. Take him away.
I could eat an
And Ganon just walks off like, ah, shucks.
I could eat an Octorok.
You dare bring light into my lair? You must die. That's the final boss.
No.
I want to see that in the video game. Bring that into Breath of the Wild too.
All right. Well, the only other thing I was going to mention is we went so in depth in that I can't really go on. But is that like Mario is another candidate, obviously.
Oh, and by the way, whoops, hello. That had multiple TV shows and a live action movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was doing specifically anime and manga, though.
Yeah, but it had the cartoons at the very least.
Well,
I guess those
we
were
talked
American.
about the manga from the...
Yeah, that would be open with the manga,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we had some TV shows too.
Yeah. We'll see if they ever do, like, a cartoon that is, you know, not embarrassing. We'll see.
You don't want to do the Mario and swing your arms from side to side?
Mario doesn't need a cartoon.
I hope he brings lots of spaghetti.
But anyway, I could go on and say other series. You know, there's also Metroid, but I think
Of
that
course.
Zelda overall, like Metroid, might be my favorite, but Zelda's just in terms of overall like
It is
influence.
rock solid.
Yeah, exactly.
The worst Zelda game is still good.
The CDI games.
They have amazing soundtracks. They actually do.
The DS ones aren't very good.
No, but they're still like
They're good, though.
good.
Yeah, they're good, but they're not very good.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
There are other ways to spend your time on the DS that are better than those Zelda games.
Sure.
Let's just put it that way. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up with that. What do you think,
Sure.
Lotus?
Yeah, no, that should be good.
Okay, well, we want to thank all of our fans who gave us questions this week. You did not do that.
Vice, you gotta stop your bad cop routine. You're scaring me.
Oh man, I'm gonna scare them all away, Lotus. I'm admonishing them. That's not good.
They're gonna be like, I came here to listen to banter, not be chastised.
I came in here for an argument.
I didn't want to get caught up in this imbroglio.
Brolio. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions, i.e. me. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. Come on, guys. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. That helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything. Just let me know who you are.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Wonderful. Well, we will catch everybody next week then with another episode of Reactive on Tuesday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.